My name is Margaret Cleveland, 29 years old. My parents had 18 days in Europe to celebrate stealing my grandmother's life savings. My grandmother and I had 21 days to make sure they'd regret every single one. It started at Denver Airport, December 2nd, 6:30 in the morning. My father looked at my 71-year-old grandmother and said, "I forgot to bring your ticket. Just go home." She'd given them $38,000. She'd been packed for weeks. She couldn't sleep the night before because she was too excited. I was supposed to get on that plane with them. Instead, I said 4 words that changed everything. "I'm staying with her." My parents didn't know I'd found their emails 2 weeks earlier. They didn't know I'd seen their plan to put Grandma in a nursing home and take her house. And they definitely didn't know what we were about to do while they drank wine in Paris. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all started, 6 weeks before that airport, when my family still looked perfect from the outside. It was mid-October when my parents dropped the bomb. We were at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, my mother's favorite place to make announcements, the kind of restaurant where the lighting is dim enough to hide discomfort, and the wine list is expensive enough to make people feel obligated to be grateful. My father raised his glass. "We have exciting news," he said, smiling at my grandmother across the table. "We're taking the family to Europe. 18 days. France, Italy, Switzerland, Germany." My grandmother's hand flew to her chest. Eleanor Brennan, Grandma Ellie to me, was 71 years old, a retired nurse with hands that still shook slightly from decades of night shifts. She'd been widowed for 5 years, living alone in the house my grandfather bought in 1985, getting by on Social Security and a modest pension. "Europe?" she breathed. "Oh my goodness, I've never—" "We know, Mom," my mother interrupted. Natalie Cleveland, 48 years old, former PR consultant, currently unemployed but would never admit it. She wore a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "That's why we want you there. You've worked so hard your whole life. You deserve this." I watched the exchange from my seat. I'm a physical therapist, which means I'm trained to notice small things, the way people hold tension in their shoulders, the micro expressions that flash across faces before they can control them. My mother's smile was tight, her hand wrapped around her wine glass just a fraction too hard. "Victor and I have been planning this for months," Natalie continued, reaching across to pat Grandma's hand. "We'll take care of everything. All you have to do is pack." My father, Victor Cleveland, 50 years old, pharmaceutical sales director with a corner office and a voice trained to sell confidence, nodded enthusiastically. "The trip of a lifetime, Mom. We leave December 2nd. Grandma's eyes were wet. "I don't know what to say. This is wonderful." As we walked to our cars later, I hung back with Grandma while my parents walked ahead. Through the cooling October air, I heard my mother's voice, low and urgent. "She'll cover her share, right? We can't afford 4 people." My stomach dropped. 2 weeks later, I was at Grandma's house for our usual Thursday dinner. She could barely contain herself. "Maggie, look at this," she said, pulling out a thick folder. Inside were printouts of the Eiffel Tower, the Colosseum, Swiss Alps. She'd highlighted walking tours in yellow marker. "I've been researching. I want to make sure I don't miss anything important." I smiled, but something felt wrong. The way my mother had phrased it at dinner, "she'll cover her share," kept echoing in my head. "Grandma," I said carefully, "has Mom mentioned anything about costs?" Her face lit up. "Oh yes, she called yesterday. The trip is about $15,000 per person. I told her I'd pay my part, of course. I have my savings." $15,000. For my grandmother, that was nearly a year of careful budgeting. "Are you sure you want to spend that much?" She reached across and squeezed my hand. "Honey, what else am I saving it for? I'm 71. When am I going to get another chance to see Paris?" She had a point, but the tightness in my chest wouldn't go away. The next week, I stopped by unannounced. Grandma was at her kitchen table filling out a wire transfer form. $30,000? I blurted out, seeing the amount. She looked up, surprised. Oh, Maggie, yes. Natalie said there are extras. Travel insurance, upgraded hotels, nice dinners. I want to contribute properly. I don't want to be a burden. 30,000. Double what she'd mentioned before. I sat down across from her. Grandma, that's a lot more than 15,000. I know, sweetheart. But your mother explained that if we want the nicer experiences, and I do, it makes sense to invest a bit more. She's been so thoughtful about planning everything. I watched her sign the form. The subject line read, Europe family trip, my share. Not a loan, not a partial contribution, her entire share. That night, I texted my mother. Why is Grandma paying $30,000? 4 hours later, she replied. She insisted. Don't make her feel bad about it. Thanksgiving week, I arrived at Grandma's to help with dinner prep. She was writing a check. Another one? I tried to keep my voice light. Just 8,000, she said, signing her name with a flourish. Natalie mentioned there might be last-minute travel expenses, and I don't want them to have to cover me if something comes up. I looked at the check. Payable to Natalie Cleveland. Memo line, travel expenses. $38,000 total. That was more than half of what Grandma had in savings. I knew because last year she'd shown me her bank statement when we were working on her budget. 89,000 in a certificate of deposit her late husband had left her. She'd been living off the interest, careful and frugal. Grandma, I said, this is almost half your savings. Have Mom and Dad shown you the itinerary yet? Hotel confirmations? Flight details? She waved her hand. They said they're handling all the logistics. I trust them, honey. That's what scared me. Without thinking, I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the check. Just habit from work. I document everything. Patient payments, insurance claims, all of it. The photo sat in my camera roll, and I didn't think much of it. Not yet. The day after Thanksgiving, I was at my parents' house helping clean up. My mother had gone shopping. My father was playing golf. The house was quiet. I needed to print a recipe I'd found online. My mother's laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, email app already running. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally. But then I saw the subject line. Mom's situation, final plan, from Natalie to Victor. Dated October 15th. My hand moved without permission. I clicked. Victor, I've made the appointments. Sunrise Senior Living has availability in January. The deposit is $5,000, but it's worth it. The place looks legitimate enough that she won't resist. Once we're in Europe, we'll tell her the nursing home is already arranged. She'll sign the house papers when we get back. She won't have a choice. The equity will clear our debt. V, we need this. The creditors are serious. We have until January 15th, or they're taking us to court for the full $182,000. We can't tell Margaret. She'll try to stop us. Just stick to the plan. Mom gets the trip of a lifetime. We get the house equity. Everyone's happy. She's too old to live alone anyway. N. The kitchen tilted. I grabbed the counter. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. But I took screenshots, one after another. I scrolled. There were more. Email 2. Nursing home tour appointment, September 23rd. Email 3. Discussion of my grandmother's house value, $520,000. Mortgage remaining, $135,000. Equity, $385,000. Email 4. Breakdown of their debt, a failed business venture. Vitality Greens, LLC. My mother's wellness startup that crashed 2 years ago. $182,000 owed to creditors. Final notice. Pay by January 15, 2026, or face lawsuit. Email 5. Calendar sync showing 3 appointments. Sunrise Senior Living. Brookdale Nursing Home. Hilltop Care Facility. Email 6. My father's response. Natalie, are you sure about this? It feels wrong. And my mother's reply. We're out of options. This is survival. I took pictures of everything. My phone's camera shutter kept clicking in the silent kitchen, each click feeling like a small act of war. I heard the garage door. I closed the laptop exactly how I'd found it, forwarded all the screenshots to my personal email, and deleted the sent items from my mother's account. By the time she walked in with shopping bags, I was at the counter, recipe printed, smiling. Thanks for letting me use your computer, Mom. No problem, honey. She had no idea that in the last 10 minutes, everything had changed. December 2nd arrived like an execution date I'd been counting down to. I'd barely slept. The night before, Grandma had called me at 3 in the morning. "Maggie, I can't sleep," she'd said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I'm too excited. I keep thinking about the Eiffel Tower. Do you think it's as beautiful in person?" "Even more beautiful, Grandma." I've been up since midnight, just sitting here with my tea, going through my packing list again. I must have checked it 100 times. I don't want to forget anything important. My throat tightened. "You're going to have an amazing time." She had no idea that in a few hours, my parents were going to rip that happiness away from her. At 4:30 a.m., I drove to her house. I'd told my parents I'd meet them at the airport. I wanted to make sure Grandma got there safely. They'd seemed relieved not to have to pick her up. Now I knew why. She was already awake when I arrived, dressed in her nicest wool sweater, the navy blue one she'd bought specifically for this trip. Her small suitcase sat by the door, packed and repacked 4 times over the past week. Her new passport, obtained in a rush in October, pages still crisp and empty, stuck out of her purse. "I got the photos taken 3 times," she'd told me proudly when it arrived. I wanted to look nice. The drive to Denver International was quiet. Grandma kept checking her purse for her passport, her boarding pass printout, her reading glasses. The nervous excitement of someone about to do something they'd dreamed of their entire life. We arrived at 6:10. My parents were already there, standing near the United check-in counter. They looked polished, refreshed, ready. They looked like people about to get exactly what they wanted. Victor waved when he saw us. Natalie glanced up from her phone, offered a tight smile. I pushed Grandma's luggage cart toward them, my heart hammering. "Morning, Mom," Victor said. "Maggie, thanks for bringing her." Grandma beamed. "I'm so excited I could burst. Victor, did you double-check that I'm in the system? I know you said you booked everything, but—" "Actually, Mom," Victor interrupted, pulling out his phone and making a show of scrolling through something. "I think there might be an issue." My grandmother's smile faltered. "An issue?" "Yeah." He frowned at his screen. "I thought I forwarded you your confirmation email, but I'm not seeing it in my sent folder." "That's okay," Grandma said quickly. "I have my passport. We can sort it out at check-in, right?" "The thing is," Victor looked at Natalie. My mother stepped forward. "Mom, we think there might have been a glitch when we booked. Your ticket might not have gone through." The color drained from Grandma's face. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Victor said, and I watched him lie with the same smooth voice he used to close pharmaceutical deals. "I think I forgot to finalize your booking. I'm so sorry. This is completely my fault." "But I gave you the money." Grandma's voice was small. $38,000. You said everything was taken care of." Natalie put her hand on Grandma's shoulder, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "We know, Mom, and we feel terrible. But there's nothing we can do right now. The flight leaves in an hour. We don't have time to buy a ticket at the gate. They're thousands of dollars last minute." I watched my grandmother process this, watched her face move from confusion to hurt to something that looked like shame. "So I should just go home?" "I think that's best," Victor said. He wouldn't look at her. "We'll send you pictures, postcards. You'll love seeing everything through our photos." "But I wanted to see it," Grandma whispered. "Not pictures. I wanted to stand in front of the Eiffel Tower. I wanted to—" "Mom, you'd be more comfortable at home anyway," Natalie cut in. "It's a lot of walking, long flights. You'd probably struggle with the jet lag." Grandma stood there in the middle of Denver International Airport, holding her new passport, wearing her nice sweater, her small suitcase beside her. 71 years old, $38,000 poorer, about to be abandoned by her own family. I watched her face crumble. And then I watched something else happen. Her jaw set, just slightly. Her shoulders pulled back. She looked at me. I nodded. That's when I stepped between my grandmother and my parents. "No," I said. My mother's eyes narrowed. "Margaret, don't start." "I'm not getting on that plane," I said, loud enough that people nearby glanced over. "And neither is she." Victor reached for my arm. "Maggie, you're being dramatic. We're going to miss our flight." I pulled out my phone, held it up so both my parents could see the screen. It showed an email. Subject line: "Mom's situation. Final plan." My mother's face went white. "I found your emails," I said quietly. 2 weeks ago. All of them. The nursing home deposits. The plan to take her house. The debt you're trying to pay off with her equity. "Margaret," my father's voice was a warning. "I know about Sunrise Senior Living," I continued. "I know about the $5,000 deposit you put down for January. I know about the $182,000 you owe creditors. I know everything." Natalie lunged for my phone. I stepped back. "I've already sent copies to myself, and to someone safe. You can't delete them." People were staring now. My father's face had gone red. "We'll deal with you when we get back," he hissed. "No," I said. "You won't, because I'm staying with Grandma. And when you come home in 3 weeks, you're not going to find what you think you're going to find." My mother grabbed my father's arm. "Victor, we're going to miss the flight." They had a choice to make: stay and fight me in front of a growing audience, or get on that plane and hope they could deal with me later. They chose the plane. As they turned towards security, my mother threw one last look over her shoulder. "You'll regret this, Margaret." I held my grandmother's hand and watched them disappear through TSA. "Maggie," Grandma said, her voice shaking, "what just happened?" I turned to her, looked into her confused, hurt eyes. "Grandma, they were never going to take you to Europe. They took your money and they were planning to put you in a nursing home and steal your house." She stared at me. "That can't be true." "I have proof," I said gently. "I'll show you everything, but right now, let's get you home." We walked back to my car in silence. She was still holding her passport. The drive back to her house took 45 minutes. Grandma stared out the window the entire time, not speaking. I let her process. When we pulled into her driveway, the house she'd lived in for 40 years, the house my grandfather had bought when interest rates were 13%, and they'd thought they were getting a deal, she finally spoke. "Show me." Inside, I pulled out my phone. She sat on her couch, the same couch where she'd rocked me to sleep as a baby, where she'd taught me to knit, where we'd watched Jeopardy together every week for the last 29 years. I showed her everything: the email about the nursing home, the appointment confirmations, the discussion of her house equity like it was already theirs, the creditor notices, the calculations, the cold, clinical way they'd planned to manipulate her. She read every word. Her hands trembled, but her face stayed blank. When she finished, she set my phone down carefully. "How long have you known?" 2 weeks. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I needed to be sure," I said. "I needed proof. If I'd told you without evidence, they could have convinced you I was wrong, that I was jealous or causing trouble. This way, there's no argument." She picked up my phone again, scrolled back to one particular line. "She won't have a choice." Something in her face changed. The hurt crystallized into something harder. "Take me to your laptop," she said. "I need to see my bank accounts." We spent the next hour documenting everything. I pulled up her bank statements. There it was. The wire transfer for $30,000, dated November 1st. Subject line exactly as I'd seen on her paperwork. "Europe family trip, my share." The cashier's check for $8,000, cleared November 21st. $38,000, gone from her savings account, sitting in my parents' joint account, probably already earmarked for creditors. "I worked for 43 years, Grandma said quietly. "Night shifts at the hospital, double shifts when your grandfather got sick. I saved every penny I could. Not for them to steal. For my future. For my security. I know. Show me more. I pulled up my mother's calendar, the one she'd foolishly synced to a family iCloud account she'd created years ago and never removed me from. September 23rd. Tour sunrise at 2 p.m. October 6th. Brookdale visit. October 19th. Hilltop care assessment. 3 facilities. They'd done their research. Grandma stared at the screen. They were shopping for where to put me. Yes. While I was buying travel-sized toiletries and practicing saying bonjour in my bathroom mirror. The break in her voice almost shattered me. Grandma, I need you to make a phone call, she said, cutting me off. Her voice was steady now, cold, even. That nursing home, Sunrise Senior Living, call them, pretend you're Natalie, see if there really is a deposit. I hesitated. I need to know how deep this goes. I made the call. A cheerful receptionist answered. Sunrise Senior Living, how can I help you? I pitched my voice slightly higher. Hi, this is Natalie Cleveland. I'm following up on the reservation for my mother, Eleanor Brennan. Oh yes, Mrs. Cleveland, let me pull that up. I heard keyboard clicking. Here we are, January 2026. Move-in, semi-private room, level 2 care. Your deposit of $5,000 is confirmed. Will Mrs. Brennan be touring the facility before move-in? My stomach turned. No, that's fine, thank you. I hung up. Grandma had heard it on speaker. She stood up, walked to her kitchen window, looked out at her backyard. The garden she'd tended for 40 years. The bird feeder my grandfather had built. They already paid the deposit, she said, with my money. Yes. She turned to face me. Margaret, I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need the name of a good lawyer. The next morning, Saturday, December 3rd, I called Sarah Cunningham. She was an elder law attorney I'd found through a legal aid referral hotline. She agreed to meet with us that same day. Sarah's office was small but organized. She was in her 40s, gray streaking through her dark hair, glasses perched on her nose. She listened to our entire story without interrupting. I showed her everything on my phone. Grandma showed her the bank statements. When we finished, Sarah sat back in her chair. Mrs. Brennan, this is textbook financial elder abuse. Your daughter and son-in-law took $38,000 from you under false pretenses, planned to coerce you into a living situation you didn't choose, and intended to force you to transfer property ownership under duress. Can we stop them? Grandma asked. The house is in your name solely, correct? Not joint ownership? Just mine. My husband left it to me when he passed. Then you have every legal right to do whatever you want with it. They have no claim. Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Here's what I recommend. First, we document everything. Every email, every bank transfer, every piece of evidence. Second, we file a report with Adult Protective Services. Third, we send your daughter and son-in-law a cease and desist letter, making it clear that any attempt to coerce you will result in legal action. What about the money? I asked. Can we get it back? We can demand restitution. If they refuse, we can pursue civil action. We can also threaten to refer this to the district attorney for criminal investigation. Theft from an at-risk adult is a serious charge in Colorado. Grandma was quiet for a moment. Then, how fast can someone sell a house? Sarah blinked. I'm sorry? My house. How quickly could I sell it if I wanted to? Well, it depends on the market, but with the right buyer, maybe a few weeks? Why? Grandma looked at me. Margaret, do you remember the Morrisons? Your neighbors? They asked me last year if I'd ever consider selling. Their son Jake wants to move back to Colorado, and they wanted to buy this house for him and his family. I said no because I wasn't ready. She turned back to Sarah. I'm ready now. I called Tom Morrison that afternoon. He and his wife Linda had lived next door to Grandma for 15 years. They'd shoveled her driveway every winter, brought her cookies at Christmas, checked on her during the pandemic. When I explained, carefully, without going into all the details, that Grandma needed to sell the house quickly, Tom didn't ask questions. "We can meet tomorrow," he said. "Jake and his wife have been looking for months. They'd be thrilled." Sunday morning, the Morrisons came over. Tom, Linda, and their son Jake, a man in his early 30s with kind eyes and a 3-year-old daughter who immediately gravitated to Grandma's bird feeder. Linda hugged Grandma at the door. "Ellie, we heard what happened at the airport. I'm so sorry." Of course they'd heard. Small neighborhood, people talk. "I'm doing what I need to do," Grandma said simply. We sat at her kitchen table. Tom laid out the terms. "We can offer $515,000. All cash, no inspection contingencies. We can close in 10 to 12 days if you're willing." Slightly under market value, but Grandma didn't care about squeezing every penny. She cared about speed. "Done," she said. She signed the listing agreement right there. I witnessed it. Linda reached across and squeezed Grandma's hand. "Your home will be loved, Ellie. I promise you that." That was December 4th. My parents had been in Paris for exactly 2 days. The next week was a blur. Monday. Sarah filed the Adult Protective Services report. A caseworker named Daniel Torres called within 2 hours. "Mrs. Brennan, we take financial exploitation very seriously. I'll need to interview you and review all documentation." Tuesday. Daniel came to the house. Grandma showed him everything. The emails, the bank statements, the nursing home confirmation. He took photographs, made notes, his face growing grimmer by the page. "This is one of the clearest cases I've seen," he told us. "I'll be contacting your daughter and son-in-law when they return from their trip." Wednesday. The title company began processing the sale paperwork. Thursday through Sunday. Grandma and I packed 40 years of life into boxes. She kept the important things: photo albums, my grandfather's watch, the quilt she'd made by hand, her mother's wedding ring. The rest she donated or sold. On Saturday, she stood in her bedroom doorway and looked around. "I raised Natalie in this room," she said. "I rocked her to sleep in that corner. I stayed up all night when she had pneumonia at age 7. I taught her to braid her hair at that mirror." "Grandma? I don't know that person anymore, Maggie. The woman who could do this? That's not my daughter." She walked out and didn't look back. December 15th. Closing day. We sat in a conference room at the title company. Grandma on one side of the table, the Morrisons on the other. A title agent named Patricia walked us through the paperwork page by page. "Mrs. Brennan, this is the settlement statement. After paying off your remaining mortgage of $135,000 and closing costs of approximately $23,000, your net proceeds are $357,000. Grandma signed each page steadily. Patricia smiled. "Congratulations. The property is officially transferred to Jake Morrison." Jake reached across the table. "Mrs. Brennan, my kids are going to grow up in this house. We'll take good care of it." "I know you will," Grandma said. Walking out of that office, Linda Morrison pulled me aside. "Margaret, what your parents did, that's unforgivable. But I want you to know something. Ellie is the strongest person I've ever met. She's going to be okay." I believed her. That same day, December 15th, Grandma made 3 moves with the money. First, she bought a 1-bedroom condo at Meadowbrook Commons, a gated community 15 minutes from my apartment. Purchase price: $185,000, paid in full. No mortgage. The unit was on the 3rd floor with a balcony overlooking a small park. The community had a book club, water aerobics classes, and weekly potluck dinners. Second, she set aside $38,000 in a separate account. "For when they come back," she said. "I'm getting my money back one way or another." Third, she met with Sarah again. Together, they established an irrevocable trust with the remaining money, $134,000. I was named as the beneficiary. The trust was structured so that even if someone tried to coerce Grandma, she literally couldn't access the principal, only the annual interest. This way, Sarah explained, even if they somehow manipulate her in the future, the money is untouchable. Grandma signed the trust documents on December 18th. My parents were eating croissants in Switzerland, posting photos on Facebook of alpine views and fancy dinners. They had no idea that the house they'd been counting on no longer existed in their future. December 23rd, 3 weeks exactly since the airport. I was at Grandma's new condo helping her unpack when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Margaret. My father's voice tight with barely controlled rage. Where's your grandmother? Safe, I said. We just went to her house. There are strangers there. A man with a child answered the door. What the hell did you do? I put him on speaker so Grandma could hear. I didn't do anything, Dad. Grandma sold her house. She what? Sold it. To the Morrisons. Closed on the 15th. Paid cash for a condo. She's doing great, by the way. Thanks for asking. My mother's voice came through in the background, shrill. She can't sell. That's family property. Actually, Mom, it was Grandma's property. Solely hers. She can do whatever she wants with it. Margaret, where is she? My father's voice was shaking now. Tell me where she is right now. Why? So you can force her to sign papers? Put her in Sunrise Senior Living like you planned? Silence. Yeah, I said. We know about that too. The $5,000 deposit. The January move-in date. We know everything. More silence. Then my mother's voice, close to the phone now. You turned her against us. You poisoned her mind. No, Mom. I showed her your emails. You did this to yourselves. We're coming there, my father said. We're going to fix this. Good luck, I said, and hung up. Grandma was standing by the window looking out at the park below. They're going to come here. Probably. I'm not ready to see them yet. You don't have to. That evening, 2 certified letters arrived at my parents' house. I knew because Sarah had tracking on them. They were from Sarah Cunningham Law Office. The letters were identical, one addressed to Victor, one to Natalie. They detailed every piece of evidence we had: the emails, the financial transfers, the nursing home plans, the attempted manipulation. And they made a demand: restitution of $38,000 within 30 days, plus $5,000 in emotional distress damages, or we would file a civil lawsuit and refer the case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. The letters also included a restraining order application. If either of them attempted to contact Grandma without going through her attorney, we would seek a protective order. My father called Sarah directly that night. She didn't answer. He left a voicemail. I listened to it later. She played it for us with Grandma's permission. Ms. Cunningham, this is Victor Cleveland. There's been a massive misunderstanding. We never intended to hurt anyone. Please, we need to talk about this. We can't afford— The voicemail cut off at 30 seconds. Christmas Eve, my mother showed up at Grandma's condo building. The front desk called up. Ms. Brennan, there's a Natalie Cleveland here to see you. Grandma looked at me. I shook my head. She pressed the intercom button. Tell her no. 10 minutes later, an envelope appeared under Grandma's door. Someone from the front desk had brought it up. Inside was a handwritten letter. 3 pages, my mother's looping script. Mom, please. I'm begging you. Let me explain. I know what the emails look like, but you have to understand. We were desperate. The business failed. The creditors were threatening everything. I was scared. Victor was scared. We made terrible decisions, but we never wanted to hurt you. I'm your daughter. You raised me. You know me. Please don't do this. Please don't destroy our family over money. I love you. I'm sorry. Please. Natalie Grandma read it twice, then she tore it into small pieces and dropped it in the trash. Words are cheap, she said. Christmas Day, both my parents showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to find them standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen them. My mother had lost weight. My father's face was gray. Can we come in? Victor asked. No. Margaret, please. We need to talk to your grandmother. She doesn't want to see you. This is insane, my mother said, her voice rising. She's our mother, our family. You can't just cut us off over stealing from her? I interrupted. Over planning to put her in a home against her will? Over trying to take her house? We weren't stealing, my father said. We were going to pay her back. With what money? You're $182,000 in debt. How do you? He stopped, realized. You went through our emails. You left them open, and I'm glad I did. My mother started crying. Maggie, we're going to lose everything. The creditors are going to sue us. We could lose the house. Then you should have thought about that before you scammed a 71-year-old woman out of her life savings. I closed the door. Through it, I heard my father. Margaret, please. I didn't answer. December 26th. Daniel Torres from Adult Protective Services called my parents and requested interviews. December 30th, he interviewed them separately at his office. They both came back defensive, trying to claim Grandma had offered the money, that there was no coercion, that this was all a misunderstanding. Daniel showed them the emails. According to his report, which Sarah obtained for us, both of them went silent. Then why did you leave her at the airport after taking her money? Daniel had asked. No answer. And why did you make nursing home arrangements without her knowledge or consent? Still nothing. Daniel gave them two options: settle privately with Eleanor Brennan, or he would refer the case to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation under Colorado's financial exploitation of at-risk adult statutes. January 3rd, 2026. My parents hired a lawyer. A cheap one, probably the best they could afford given their financial situation. January 7th, that lawyer called Sarah. My clients are willing to settle, he said. What are Ms. Brennan's terms? Sarah had already discussed this with Grandma. We were firm. Full restitution of $38,000 plus $5,000 in damages. Total $43,000. Payment plan of 12 months, interest-free. But if they miss a single payment, the full amount becomes due immediately, and we file the lawsuit. 12 monthly payments of, he paused. That's over $3,000 a month. My clients can't afford that. Then they'll have to find a way, Sarah said. Those are the terms. And what about reconciliation? Will Ms. Brennan agree to see them? Not until the payments are complete, and even then, only if she chooses to. The lawyer sighed. I'll talk to them. January 10th, my parents signed the settlement agreement. $3,583 per month for 12 months. They also had to write a formal apology letter. 2 pages minimum. It had to specifically acknowledge what they'd done, the harm they'd caused, and their commitment to change. Sarah made it clear. The letter couldn't be vague. No, we're sorry if you were hurt language. Actual accountability. The letter arrived January 10th. I read it first. Then Grandma. Mom, I don't know how to start this except to say, I'm sorry. Those words feel inadequate for what I've done to you. I took your money under false pretenses. I lied to you about the Europe trip. I planned to force you into a living situation you didn't choose and take your house without your consent. I did these things because I was desperate and scared, and I convinced myself that the ends justified the means. I was wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. I let greed and fear override my love for you. I treated you like an obstacle instead of a person, instead of my mother, the woman who sat up with me when I had nightmares as a child, who worked double shifts to pay for my college, who never asked for anything in return. And I repaid you by planning to steal everything you had. I am deeply, profoundly ashamed. I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to understand why I valued money over people, why I thought I could justify treating you this way. I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn back a fraction of the trust I destroyed. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry. Natalie Victor's section was shorter, less emotional, but it included the critical line Sarah had demanded. Eleanor, I failed you as a son-in-law. I hurt the woman who welcomed me into her family and never asked for anything but love in return. I was wrong. I participated in a plan to manipulate and exploit you, and I can never undo that. I'm sorry. Grandma folded the letter and put it in her desk drawer. "It's a start," she said. "But words are cheap. Let's see if they follow through." January 15th, the first payment arrived. A cashier's check for $3,583. I deposited it for Grandma. She pulled out a small notebook and wrote, "Payment 1/12, received January 15th, 26. 11 more to go," she said. Over the next months, Grandma built a new life. She joined the book club at Meadowbrook Commons. Tuesday nights, 8 women in their 60s and 70s, drinking wine and arguing about novels. She came home from the first meeting flushed and happy. "They're reading Where the Crawdads Sing next month," she told me. "I haven't been in a book club since before your grandfather got sick." Thursday mornings, she started water aerobics. I came to visit one Thursday and found her in the community pool, laughing with 3 other women as they did arm circles in the shallow end. "Maggie," she'd called out. "Meet Joan, Patricia, and Sue." She looked stronger, not just physically. Something in her eyes had changed. She made friends, real friends. Joan was 68, a retired accountant whose own daughter tried to borrow money constantly. Patricia was 72, widowed like Grandma, with a wicked sense of humor. Sue was 75, former librarian, sharp as a tack. None of them knew the full story. Grandma had told them there were family issues and left it at that. They respected her privacy. One evening, I overheard Joan mention her daughter's latest request for a loan. "Set boundaries, Joan," Grandma said quietly. "Trust me on this." Through February, March, April, the payments came. Every month on the 15th, $3,583 like clockwork. My parents tried to contact Grandma 4 times. Easter, an invitation to dinner. Declined through Sarah. Natalie's birthday in April, a card requesting coffee. Declined. Mother's Day, flowers delivered with a note asking for just one conversation. Declined. Early June, an email asking to meet for lunch. Declined. Each time, Grandma felt a small pang of guilt. "Am I being too harsh?" she asked me in May. "You're being safe," I said. "There's a difference." I was in therapy during these months, processing everything. My therapist helped me understand something important. You can love people and still protect yourself from them. I loved my parents. I did. But I couldn't trust them. Maybe I never would again. My fiancé Owen, I haven't mentioned him much, but he'd been there through all of this, steady and supportive. Proposed moving our wedding date up from 2027 to October 2026. "Your grandma should be there," he said, "while she's healthy and strong." I agreed. June 15th, payment 6 of 12 arrived on time. Grandma marked it in her notebook. Halfway there. That evening, my phone buzzed. Email from an unknown address. Subject line, "Please watch, Mom." Attached, a video file. I opened it cautiously. The video was 2 minutes long, shot in a car. My mother's face filled the frame, no makeup, hair unwashed, eyes red. "Mom," she said to the camera, "I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you probably deleted this already, but I need you to know something." She wiped her eyes. "I'm in therapy. Real therapy, twice a week. I'm working on understanding why I did what I did, why I thought money was more important than you, why I convinced myself that the ends justified the means." Her voice cracked. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not even asking to see you. I miss you, Mom. I miss calling you on Thursdays to talk about nothing. I miss your advice. I miss feeling like I had a mother who didn't hate me." She took a shaky breath. "I know I destroyed that. I know it's my fault. But I want you to know I'm trying. I'm really, really trying to become someone you could maybe someday possibly not hate." The video ended. I showed it to Grandma. She watched it 3 times. After the 3rd viewing, she set my phone down and was quiet for a long moment. "Margaret," she said finally, "maybe it's time." June 25th, a Saturday afternoon. Grandma agreed to meet with Natalie, but only under strict conditions. 1. I had to be present. 2. Sarah had to be present. 3. The meeting would take place in the community room at Meadowbrook Commons. Public space, neutral ground. 4. 45 minutes maximum. Grandma set a timer on her phone. 5. Victor couldn't come. Not yet. This was between mother and daughter. At 2 p.m., we were already seated in the community room. Grandma, me, and Sarah at one side of a long table, 3 empty chairs across from us. Grandma had thrown up that morning from anxiety. "We can cancel," I told her. "No," she'd said, wiping her mouth. "I need to do this. For me, not for her." At 2:05, Natalie walked in. She looked different, thinner, older, no jewelry, gray roots showing in her hair, clothes that didn't quite fit right anymore. "Mom," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for seeing me." Grandma's voice was formal. "You have 45 minutes. Sarah is here as a legal witness. Margaret is here as my support. Sit down." Natalie sat. Her hands were shaking. For 30 seconds, nobody spoke. Then Natalie opened her mouth to speak and couldn't get the words out. Her face crumpled. She pressed her hand to her mouth. More silence. Finally, she managed. "I was drowning. In debt. In fear. In this terrible, suffocating panic that we were going to lose everything. And I used you like you were an ATM, not a person, not my mother, just money." Grandma didn't respond. "Every single night since the airport," Natalie continued, "I see your face when Dad said, 'Just go home.' I see it when I'm trying to fall asleep. I see it when I wake up. I can't stop seeing it. And I don't want to stop seeing it because I deserve to live with that image forever." She looked at Grandma, eyes pleading. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to believe that I'm trying to change, that I'm in therapy, that I'm doing the work, that I'm not the person who wrote those emails anymore." "Why should I believe you've changed?" Grandma's voice was steady. Natalie pulled papers from her purse. "These are receipts from my therapist. 12 sessions so far, twice a week. I'm working on understanding why I value money over people. Why I was willing to destroy the person who loved me most in the world for financial security." She laid the receipts on the table. "And I need to tell you something I've never told anyone." She took a breath. "My mother, your ex-mother-in-law, from my biological father, she stole from me when I was 19, took my college fund, $5,000 I'd saved from working since I was 15. She gambled it away." Grandma's eyes widened slightly. "I swore I'd never be like her," Natalie continued. "I swore I'd never steal from family. I'd never use people for money. And then I became exactly that. To you. I repeated the cycle I swore I'd broken." For the first time, I saw something shift in Grandma's face. Not forgiveness, but understanding. "What are you doing in therapy?" I asked, speaking for the first time. "Specifically, facing why I panic about money, why I spiral, why I convinced myself that survival justified any means, including destroying my relationship with my mother." She wiped her eyes. It's destroying me, seeing what I've done." The timer beeped. 45 minutes. Grandma held up her hand. "I need to say something." Everyone went quiet. "Natalie, I will never live with you again. I will never give you money again. I will never sign anything you ask me to sign. I will never trust you the way I did before. If you can accept that, we can try to rebuild something, but it will never be what it was." Natalie nodded, tears streaming. "I accept. I'll do anything. I'll take whatever you're willing to give." Grandma stood up. "That's time." Natalie rose too. Can I hug you?" Grandma hesitated. 5 full seconds. Then she allowed a brief, stiff hug. Natalie sobbed into her shoulder. Grandma patted her back once, twice, then pulled away. "I don't forgive you yet, Natalie. But I don't hate you either. That's the best I can do right now." Natalie left. Sarah gathered her notes. Grandma sat back down, exhausted. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Like I just ran a marathon," she said. "But lighter, just a little bit lighter." July through November, Natalie visited once a month, always with me present, always at the condo or in public spaces. They talked about safe things, weather, books, TV shows, Grandma's water aerobics class. Natalie brought small gifts, flowers, a book Grandma had mentioned wanting, nothing expensive, nothing that felt like buying forgiveness. Slowly, incrementally, something that resembled a relationship began to form. Not the old relationship. That was dead. This was something new, cautious, boundaried. In September, Natalie mentioned, "Victor wants to see you too, when you're ready." Grandma wasn't ready yet. October 12th, 2026. My wedding day. Small ceremony. 50 guests. Owen and I exchanged vows in a garden venue, autumn leaves falling around us. Grandma sat in the front row, wearing a deep purple dress, looking radiant. Natalie and Victor sat in the back, separated from Grandma by 6 rows of guests. They'd been invited, but with clear boundaries. They could attend, but they couldn't sit with family. During the reception, Grandma danced with me. Not a mother-daughter dance, that wasn't her role, but a grandmother-granddaughter moment. We swayed to an old song she loved. "I'm proud of you, Maggie," she whispered, "for standing up, for choosing what was right, even when it was hard." "I learned from the best," I said. After the reception, as guests were leaving, Victor approached Grandma. It was the first time they'd been face to face since the airport 10 months earlier. "Eleanor," he said, "may I have 1 minute of your time?" Grandma nodded. They stepped outside to the garden, away from the crowd. I watched from a distance but couldn't hear. When they came back in, Grandma's face was thoughtful. Victor's eyes were red. Later, she told me what he'd said. He apologized, not for form, really apologized. Said he'd been a coward, that Natalie was desperate, but he could have stopped it and didn't. That he chose money over family and lost everything that mattered. "What did you say?" "I told him to finish the payments, keep showing up for Natalie's therapy, and that maybe, in a year, we could talk more." "That's generous." "I'm not doing it for him, Maggie. I'm doing it for me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life bitter." December 15th, 2026. Exactly 1 year after Grandma sold the house. The 12th and final payment arrived. $3,583. Total paid, $43,000. Every penny they'd taken, plus damages. I deposited it. Grandma updated her notebook. December 12th. Complete. She closed the notebook and sat back. "How does it feel?" I asked. "Like closing a wound," she said. "It's still a scar. It's always going to be a scar, but it's closed." Christmas Day, 2026. For the first time in a year, Grandma agreed to a family gathering. At my apartment. Me and Owen hosting. Victor, Natalie, and Grandma all in the same room. It was awkward, stilted. Nobody quite knew what to say. But we managed. We ate dinner. We exchanged small, safe gifts. Natalie helped me in the kitchen at one point. "Margaret," she said quietly, "thank you for not giving up on us completely." "I didn't do it for you," I said. "I did it for Grandma." "I know, but still, thank you." Before Grandma left that night, Natalie hugged her again, longer this time. Grandma hugged back, firmer than before. "Merry Christmas, Natalie." "Merry Christmas, Mom." It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was something. It's December 2025 now as I'm telling you this story. Almost a year since that morning at the airport. Grandma turned 72 last month. She's thriving. Her condo is bright and full of plants. She just got back from an Alaskan cruise with her book club friends, a trip she paid for herself, with money she chose to spend. We have dinner every Wednesday. That's our standing date. Sometimes Owen joins us. Sometimes it's just the two of us, watching Jeopardy like we've done for 29 years. My parents visit once a month. They're still paying off their creditors, slowly, honestly. They're still in therapy, both of them. Are we healed? No. Will we ever fully trust them again? Probably not, but we're trying. And Grandma taught me that trying, with accountability and boundaries, is enough. She taught me something else too, that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat, that loving your family doesn't mean letting them destroy you. That forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and it definitely isn't the same as letting people back in without conditions. Let me tell you what I learned from all of this. Elder abuse isn't always physical. It's often financial. It's often family. And it's often invisible until it's too late. If you have elderly parents, grandparents, relatives, check on them. Not just, how are you, but who's managing your money? Are you being pressured? Do you feel safe? 1 in 10 older adults experiences some form of abuse. Most never report it. Watch for warning signs, sudden large withdrawals, family members controlling finances but being secretive about it, anxiety about money despite having savings, unexplained signatures on documents, isolation from friends and other family. If you see these signs, speak up. Be the person I was for my grandmother. Because she couldn't save herself alone. She needed an ally. My grandmother is 72 years old. She's a widow, retired, not wealthy. But when her own daughter tried to steal from her, she took control. She sold her house. She protected her money. She set boundaries so firm they could cut glass. And she's thriving. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. Loving your family doesn't mean letting them destroy you. And forgiveness? It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting people back in without proving they've changed. That stranger in the house? The Morrison family? They're wonderful. Jake and his wife Sarah are raising 2 beautiful kids in the home my great-grandfather built. Grandma visits sometimes. She loves seeing children's toys scattered across the living room where her couch used to be. She chose that. It was her decision, not theirs. So here's my message. If someone you know is being abused, especially an elderly person, protect them. Respect their autonomy. Stand up even when it's hard. And if you're the elder being abused, know this. You are not powerless. You have options. You have rights. And you deserve better than people who see you as an obstacle or an ATM. Document everything. Find an ally. And take your power back. You're stronger than you think. My grandmother proved that. And if her story can help even one person recognize the warning signs, stand up for someone vulnerable, or take back control of their own life, then everything we went through was worth it.